The Earth is a dying rock, and time is running out. You only have 10 years to plan your escape. How could we evacuate as many people as possible? What resources would we need to take to survive? And where would we go? This is What If, and here's what would happen if Earth had 10 years left. If we found out that Earth only had 10 years left before it was destroyed, we'd need to figure out a plan for humanity to survive. And with a global population of 7.8 billion people, our survival plan would have to be as colossal as possible. Today's space shuttle technology can only transport 5 to 7 people into space at a time. This means we would need over 1 billion shuttles to carry everyone off the planet. That's not very feasible. We'd need bigger spacecraft, and fast. To design and build the spacecraft at breakneck speed, we would all need to work together. Yeah, we'd need to set aside all our wars and conflicts to help make the plan succeed. We'd need to bring the best and brightest people to our new home, including scientists, doctors, engineers, and maintenance crews. Everyone would need to keep the ships and future settlements up and running. I'm imagining the selection process to go would be very strict, so if you wanted to be one of those survivors, you'd have to find a way to stand out. And nothing will make you stand out better than a brilliantly written cover letter. Now, writing isn't always easy, especially when your fate depends on it, but with Grammarly Premium, you might just write the perfect piece. My team and I, we use Grammarly all the time to make sure our stories sound engaging and clear and that they have zero grammar mistakes. I'm a bit of a grammarista. I even use Grammarly when I write my emails, and it doesn't matter whether I'm on my phone or on my computer. With the Grammarly browser plugin, I can make sure my grammar, punctuation, and style are sharp across all my correspondence. Grammarly does more than just check spelling, so say what you really mean with Grammarly Premium. And get 20% off Grammarly Premium by signing up at grammarly.com/whatif. That's 20% off at grammarly.com/whatif. And now that you have more chances to be picked as a survivor, you might want to know what comes next. There would have to be intense screenings to make sure that only healthy people relocate off Earth. A single outbreak of disease could spell the end of humanity. Now, it would be impossible to bring everyone. We'd have to leave a lot of people on the dying rock. But how many could we save? Well, by some estimates, we'd only need to save 98 people. Yeah, that would be enough for humanity to survive and maintain a healthy population. Other scientists argue we'd need at least 14,000 people. Okay, so let's round this up and say we'll aim for evacuating 15,000 people. Now, how do we choose them?
I choose you.
Well, it could come down to population sizes here on Earth. For example, India could send 2,700 people to account for their 17.7% of the global population, while the United States could send 600 to match its 4.25% of the population. Or would we choose people based solely on their skills and qualifications? This would perpetuate many of today's inequalities. Who we choose would have huge impacts on humanity's cultures and attitudes in the future. To maintain all the cultures on Earth, we would need to find ways to preserve them. Okay, now let's get to the technical side of things. To carry 15,000 people to refuge in space, we would need an enormous ship, or many smaller ones. Now, while constructing one ship might be most efficient, there would be significant risk if that ship became damaged or malfunctioned. Two of the biggest challenges would be figuring out how to build such a complex spacecraft and where.
It will not be easy for you to hear.
Building it in space could give us more freedom. We could optimize the ship for space conditions rather than engineering it to survive the brutal trip from Earth. And it could help if we transfer the raw materials to space before beginning construction, but that would take a while. Currently, SpaceX rockets can carry a maximum payload of 63,800 kilograms, and we'd need a lot more than that. We would need to build our space vessel to become self-sustaining. Solar power would be the primary energy source. After all, it's free and the sun will keep burning for billions of years. But everything would need to be in perfect balance to produce oxygen and water, grow food, process waste, and regulate the temperature and pressure. But first, we would need to stock the ship with enough food to keep everyone alive before we can start growing food in space. To survive the first 2 years, you alone would need up to 400 kilograms of food. And that food would have to contain all the carbs, fats, proteins, and fiber you'd need to stay healthy. You'd also need 1,726 liters of water per person. Okay, now multiply those numbers by 15,000 to supply everyone on board with enough food and water. That would be a lot of water, so our ship would use cutting-edge methods of recycling to make a renewable water system. But where would we go? Well, first, we'd establish a pit stop for deeper space exploration. Luckily, by the time the evacuation began, we'd already have one orbiting the moon, designed to resupply astronauts with food and oxygen. Then, we might head to Mars, where we could orbit it for a while. But we'd need to figure out how to get everyone down onto the red planet. Could we accomplish all that in a mere 10 years? Well, we already have the drive, technology, and financing to make civilian space travel possible in the near future. But it would take much longer than 10 years to complete such a global evacuation mission. So maybe we should start getting ready now. Mars looks like a good place to terraform. But that's a story for another What If.